everybody. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing cell-to-cell communication, and the target audience for this video would be elementary students. You might be asking yourself,
what is a cell?
A cell is the smallest building block found in the body. Imagine a speck of salt. It's smaller than that. And just like Legos, when you put cells together, they make up tissues. And then when you put those tissues together, they make up organs, like the heart, the eye, the ear. And for those organs to function properly, they need to communicate to another. Now, organ communication is very important to keep our body healthy and functioning properly. But the organs will not just move to talk to another, nor will they text each other the message. What happens is that the cell in these organs sends signals to each other. Now, there are different types of signals, but what we will focus on today is how these signals are sent from a cell to another. Now we're going to focus on the four main types of communication. The first is gap junctions. The second is contact-dependent signals. The third is freely diffusing chemicals. And the fourth is long-distance communication. For the first three, the cells are located close to each other. But for the last one, the cells are a bit further away from each other, and we will discuss this further in the video. Now, the first type of communication we're going to talk about is gap junctions. Now, for gap junction communication to occur, the cells must be adjacent to each other. What happens is they physically get connected by the proteins on the surface of the cell merge and they form connexins. Now, let's take a closer look. So what happens is these connexins open and close to transfer the signals between the cells when needed. Now we're going to talk about the next type of communication, which is contact-dependent signals. As the name suggests, the cells must be close to each other. So what happens is that a cell will send signals, or we could call them ligands, because these ligands will travel and they will bind to the receptors of another cell that are located outside the cell. So here's a video to further demonstrate the process. So that yellow molecule would be the signal or the ligand, and it'll bind to the receptor of another cell on the surface. After the binding, a response is generated based on the signal that was sent from the other cell. Now, what's important to take note of is that these ligands, or molecules that are secreted by the signaling cell, are shaped to be very specific to the receptors of the targeted cell, just like we see on the video. So in this example, the ligand is saying,
"When I'm around the membrane, how will I recognize and bind to her? I'm scared." "No worries, son. Everything will be fine. You'll be recognized."
As you could see, the blue ligand is shaped specifically so it could bind to the pink protein receptor. This is done to ensure that only the targeted cell would receive that signal and act on it. The next type of communication we're going to talk about is freely diffusing chemicals. So this occurs when chemicals just freely diffuse outside of the cell to act on close cells. Now, just like contact-dependent signals, these molecules will bind to the receptors of cells. But for freely diffusing chemicals, it has two acts of signaling. The first one would be paracrine, in which the signal that was sent from one cell would act to another cell that is close by. Or it could be autocrine, in which the signal acts on the same cell that secreted it, hence the name autocrine. Our last type of cell signaling is long-distance communication. Now, for this type of communication, the signaling cell, or the cell sending the signal, is far away from the target cell, or the cell that receives that signal. So the way signals or ligands, will reach their target cells is through the bloodstream. As you can see in this clip, it is inside a blood vessel, and that white molecule would be the ligand. An example would be when your brain would want to send signals to your feet to move. That signal would have to travel from the top of your body all the way to the bottom. The best way to travel that distance is through the bloodstream, until the signal reaches its target cell and binds to their specific receptors, just like we talked about in the previous communication types. Thank you so much for watching this video, and all the links and applications that helped me make this video would be found in the description. Thank you.